Hey, welcome to another exciting adventure with the Cranky Geeks. I'm your host, John C. Dvorak. We have some pretty good cranks here today. Let's start by introducing them, beginning with Sebastian Rupali, who's the co-crank and the editorial director of PCMagcast.com. And his crankometer rating, by the way, has gone up again. He's back in the low 80s.
Thank you.
Sitting on his left is Dave Mathews, formerly of the Dave Mathews Band.
Oh, really?
I'm sorry. How can I resist that gag? He's also an inventor. In fact, if you remember the Q Cat, he reminded us today, because that's all he brags about, the Q Cat. He's also a tech journalist, and he does a product called Boxy, which we're going to talk to him about in a minute, because we have yet to see this thing. And on my left is Demian Entrekin, who is the founder and CTO of a innovative company with the name Innotas. I suppose I got the pronunciation right.
My actual title is VC Pincushion. So
I think everybody's a VC pincushion. Steve Jobs is not going to be this top story. Steve is not going to give a speech next month at the Macworld Expo 2009. What happened?
Yeah, I was shocked by this. Actually, there are a lot of things going around the blogosphere that say Apple's been talking about this for a while. They're not going to come to any Macworlds after this, and Steve Jobs is not going to do the keynote at this one, which, if you've ever been to Macworld and see the keynotes, he's treated like a rock star there. It's a huge media event for Apple, and so I do not think he wouldn't show up, especially for this last one, unless the rumors that have been going around the blogosphere about his health are true. And I previously thought it was bad manners to say anything about his health. I agreed with people who were saying that, but at this point, I don't think so. I mean, if you're the CEO of a public company that large and that influential, and it's been proven before that when he's not CEO, the company flounders. They come out and say nothing. I mean, they say nothing about it. They will not answer a single question from the press about his health.
But I was at the last two events that were the new iPod releases and the new MacBook releases, and he had the cute quotes. The rumors of my death are highly exaggerated, and then the next one he had his blood pressure, which was clever. But this is another year with a landmark where Bill Gates won't be speaking at CES. So maybe with Ballmer taking the helm now for Microsoft and with Phil Schiffer taking the helm now for Macworld, maybe this is just a progression of these guys stating that they don't need to be the kings of the castle anymore.
Phil Schiller. But what do you think about the health issue? Don't you think they should make some kind of statement? He had pancreatic cancer, which is one of the worst forms. Usually that's 6 months at the most. Yep. He did beat it, and it's an unusual form of cancer, but they should say something about it so that shareholders, people who love Apple's products, know what's going on.
I just got to say, he does look skinny. I saw him a couple times.
He's having a malabsorption, is what they call it.
What do you think, Demian? You've run a couple of companies. Do you think the CEO that prominent of such a public company, such an influential one, they should say nothing?
I personally have never understood trade shows at all. The only people that benefit are the hotels and the cab drivers. I think this is trade shows are mostly people to get poached from other companies. I think somebody's worried that Steve Jobs is going to get hired by Microsoft.
Could be.
That's a long shot, but I like it. So we got this card here that's handwritten. It says, Boxy does Netflix, throw to Dave.
No, don't throw the card. I don't want to lose an eye here.
Hey, wait a minute. You've been on the show now about 14 times. You keep talking about this product, and you show it to us afterwards, and it looks cool, but you have failed to deliver. This is becoming vaporware.
It's software, and we've got hundreds of thousands of people signed up for the alpha.
Signed up.
Some are using it. Some are still waiting on the alpha. But the whole idea with Boxy is it's over-the-top video. It gets rid of your cable box, gets rid of your satellite box, and in these tough economic climates, it's a good way to save 80, 90, 110 bucks a month. And Boxy gets all its video over the Ethernets. So what was really cool is we announced Netflix support. So Netflix had a busy month. They had the Roku box a few months ago. They had the LG DVD players, which I think you bought that.
I just got a Blu-ray player that has integrated Netflix.
Yeah. Does it work?
Yeah. It's brand new. I didn't even know about this.
Have you downloaded something?
Not yet. But
then how do you know it works?
I know it works because I talked to the guys about it. This is actually technology that I learned about at Best Buy.
Whoa!
Oh,
wow! Did a Geek Squad guy
come
out?
So in other words, you don't know what you're doing.
Don't buy the $200 Blu-ray player. Get this one over here because you get the integrated.
Oh, it was only $400.
Yeah,
and then you got
something going on, spiff going on.
So Boxy now takes the same APIs that what Microsoft with the 360 and the LG DVD player are using to stream video, but Boxy guys were hackers. We actually did it better. With all of these devices to stream media to, you have to go to a website and you have to build a queue. This is very much like the first Apple TV product where you had to download iTunes into the Mac and then sync it to Apple TV. So it's a two-step process. But what we did with Boxee is let you examine the queue, do an interactive on-screen, walk through the movies, hit play, and it jumps up immediately. And it runs on your Mac or your Ubuntu box. Boxee does.
So next time, take out an ad. So, have you ever used the Sling box?
Of course, I used to be at Sling. So that was another one of my
Was that where you got the idea for Boxee?
So no, two different plays. Boxee came from XBMC, which was an open source hack for the Xbox, where it was an all format media player. Slingbox, it all kind of does the same thing. Sling takes the video, compresses it on your cable box, and sends it to your laptop. Boxee takes all of the dozens of internet video sites, which are normally a keyboard and mouse, web browser with video, and aggregates it into a 10-foot user interface that you can use a remote control with.
But Boxee is social too, so it tells what the other people are watching. So I can look at it and say, Dave is watching porn.
We don't do porn though. But Dave's watching this YouTube video because we don't have the metadata for porn. Porn, I guess, maybe because legal reasons they don't want to have proof that the actress is indeed under 18. But there's not this metadata. And Boxee's all about looking at files that are on your hard drive, identifying the content, if it's a TV show, episode, even down to the synopsis.
When is this
data.
product going to be at Best Buy?
Next year, 2010.
Next year? So we have to,
I'm already in 2009. So, no, that's the goal. We won hottest technology going into CES.
You're going to have a beard and white hair by the time this thing shows up.
Boxee is a software client to begin with, and then a box later.
We're going to have a beard and white hair if we don't take a break right now. I'll be right back right after this message.
I'm Danica Patrick, IndyCar driver and GoDaddy girl. I know a little bit about speed, so take it from me. If you want a fast way to make a name for yourself on the internet, GoDaddy has everything you need. GoDaddy got me online fast, and they can do the same for you. .com names as low as $1.99. When you have something to say it at GoDaddy.com.
With regard to that GoDaddy ad you just saw, domain names from GoDaddy are up to 70% less than you get them from any place else. Plus, as a Cranky Geeks viewer, if you enter the code CRANK, C-R-A-N-K, if you can't spell it, when you check out, you get an additional 10% on any order. Some restrictions apply. See site for detail. Back to the stories. Startup banks on free broadband. For the past 3 years, a startup called M2Z Networks has been figuring out a way to blanket the nation with a free wireless broadband. Isn't this what the FCC's been talking about?
Yeah, this is a spectrum that sits above the 3G spectrum, which how many billions of dollars did that make at auction, right? And then the 4G stuff, which is the analog television signal that they're turning off, which is even more billions of dollars the government made. But they call this spectrum fallow. It has no home, I guess. And what they're trying to do is run two networks over this. One of them is free for the masses, and it's going to be DSL speeds, like 768, 384K, really not sure. But then there'll be and then no porn on that one either, Sebastian. So it's going to be filtered. It'll have Net Nanny built into the network. Then the pay service will be kind of what's going to happen with WiMAX or 4G deployments on 700 megahertz. I don't know. These guys, Kevin Martin, and they've got a lot of opposition by the FCC. It's now making its way through legislature and being smacked down.
Wasn't the FCC? Weren't they going to do a have meetings about this? And then just the other day, I think it was yesterday, as a matter of fact, they announced that we're going to put these meetings off and we're going to talk about the digital transition to digital TV.
That's right.
Which is going to be a disaster, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, but they made all their money on selling that 700 megahertz analog TV spectrum for 4G networks. So these guys, and it's the CTO is the ex-CTO of At Home. Remember what a great project that was?
Oh yeah, that went south.
So it's some clever people behind it, and they've got an interesting story. But I think it's a Ponzi
Is this
scheme.
This is Milo's company?
That's right.
I talked to Milo about that. I didn't know that.
Like 3 years ago, right?
No, I just talked to him recently about it. I think they've got a good idea here, and they got a bunch of money from Kleiner.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think Kleiner.
Yeah, that's sharp guys over there. So maybe they're onto something. But I think the amount of money that all these radio frequency auctions have generated, and these guys want to pay it over 15 years too. They want to get access to the spectrum, build a network, and then pay as they go. It's not going to fly.
I support free broadband, though. Free broadband is a good idea.
For the homeless?
It should reach more areas. It should reach more poor people.
Broadband for the homeless.
That's right.
That's all we need in San Francisco. Like, we don't have enough homeless people that have to step over now.
So let's take it one step further. It says Bush opposes free internet plan. Why would they oppose this?
Because they don't understand it. I mean, I think fundamentally these are all about investments in social capital, right? If you can create more availability, access to information, that benefits both producers and consumers. So I think both the private sector and the public sector benefit from these investments in social capital. Otherwise, we can't exchange information. So if they're against it, I think it's frankly because they don't understand the value.
Well, the Bush administration makes an argument about it, though, that's pretty clear. They say they're making the classic let free markets run argument.
But that's
you mean like all the rip-offs that have been taking
like
place,
all
the Madoff, the $50 billion. Just let those free guys do what
let
they
them
want.
run.
But where did the freeways come from? That was not invested by private companies, and without the freeways, the cars have nowhere to go. That was paid for. Again, it's an investment in social capital that benefits everyone. That's why I think they just don't understand
the freeways only benefit the truckers. I think the freeways were a marketing scam to begin with, to benefit
to sell more gas.
To benefit the trucking industry and push the crappy railroad people to the side, to the curb, as it were. Well, I think they were doing it because I thought they were just in bed with Verizon.
That could be true. Those companies have powerful lobbyists. They do. Verizon, all those companies.
So are we going to have a free internet or not? Everybody says no.
No, there's no free. There's no such thing as a free lunch.
Nothing is free.
There's no such thing as a free packet.
Internet access expanding on Massachusetts commuter rails. Lieutenant Governor Timothy Murray said all Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority trains will have at least 2 train cars with internet by spring of 2010. You know, we have buses here in the Bay Area.
Yeah, but this should be on every train system. It's not on BART at all. I take BART every day, and here in the Bay Area, you cannot use your laptop. I could get so much work done if they
You don't
just
want
put
to
that on there. It's so
on BART.
cheap.
You'll get your laptop stolen. You don't want to open it up.
BART's not that bad.
Not that bad. Not during commute hours.
And they have the Wi-Fi on the AC Transit buses that come over from the East Bay.
Where the tech cosmopolitans ride those buses.
Those are those big green things, and they're
It's a Cisco infrastructure. I saw a really cool interview with their CTO talking about how they use dual 3G cellular cards, and then they have a little Wi-Fi cloud, and they have a little cool LCD interactive system that shows you where the bus is driving and where you can get off and on and whatever, little ads that pop up that show you location-based services. But I got excited about this Massachusetts deal until I saw that AT&T won the contract. So think about their 3G network with all these iPhones running around on it, sucking up 3G bandwidth, and with these trains, it'll use 3G to hook the train car up to a Wi-Fi cloud.
If we had a picture of one of these trains, can you bring that picture back up? I think it was there. It is.
There it is, yeah. High-tech train.
That's good. Yeah, they said they'll have logos on these trains, much like that.
Yeah. So you're excited?
No, not so much.
I think anything that invests in people using trains is good. Trains are good. Trains are fun. The best thing about trains is you can be moving from one place to another and you can drink beer.
Yeah, it's
So,
true.
nice.
Right?
No, it's actually true.
Anything that promotes train travel, I support.
I used to commute,
I like trains,
I used
too.
to commute into San Francisco. It's so much better to ride the train. You can read, you can get things done. You should have Wi-Fi though.
But they
Agreed.
shouldn't
It's good
use
marketing.
3G. They should not use AT&T infrastructure. They should use some sort of power. These are electric trains, right? They should use some sort of BPL, broadband power line
Built in,
technology,
yeah.
and don't
no,
clutter up.
It works.
It's
Yeah, it
going to be
works.
so noisy with this. The trains are electric. There's going to be
It's okay,
sparks,
you
and
know,
there's
there's
going to be
engineers.
Technology works.
There's smarter people than us that can figure that out.
I don't
But
think
using the
there are.
cellular network to then bridge to Wi-Fi, it's a nightmare. The cell towers can't keep up with all this aggregate data with iPhones and every other 3G device that's going to ride on it. Done.
It's not going to work. You know, there's that power line thing. Even though I have the power line, people keep calling me up saying, we got the new. They keep changing the technology up to a gigabit now or something.
right.
But where is it? I don't see it inside my house. And if you plug it in, you know, the thing. When you plug it in, you put this little device, plug it in, and it pops and smokes, and then it doesn't work anymore.
Well, they're
am I
sending
doing
you
something
the
wrong?
No, they're sending you the UK versions of this. It's wrong voltage. I've got a 100 megabit system in my house, and I have a music system, one of my old inventions that sends audio all over the house over power wires. You know, it glitches a little bit, but this
What happens
technology.
when you turn on the blender?
I don't use a blender. No,
You don't use a
I use an ice
blender?
pick to crush my drinks.
You don't use a blender?
Yeah, what do you need a blender for?
Everybody needs a blender.
All right, maybe for your frou-frou drinks, not me.
Ice pick Dave.
Nice big dig.
That was a Basic Instinct.
It's also
reference.
home
No.
security.
I just
He's got an
watched
ice
Basic
pick.
Instinct on Netflix with Boxy, so I love that ice pick.
All right, we're going to take another break. We'll be right back and talk about, well, what are we? We're going to talk about Estonia. Be right back right after this. Hey, if you're looking for the perfect match, go to eharmony.com. Use the code EHCranky and you'll get 4 months for the price of 3. That's eharmony.com, the code EHCranky.
Good Clean Tech promises to report on the latest eco-friendly developments. That way, we'll always be able to remember moments like these. Visit goodcleantech.com, the independent guide to eco-technology.
Welcome back to the exciting adventures with the Cranky Geeks. Video game sales shine despite economic gloom. This is an interesting situation. I have been getting discrepant reports about what happened on Black Friday and where the sales are up or whether they're down. I'm watching TV last night and they show these empty stores and some guy with a gun to his head who owns the place. And it's like, nobody's shopping. And then you watch a different story. The guys are shopping. The place is going crazy. Costco is crowded. I can't get in there.
There is a problem with what you're talking about. Like the other night, I ordered a pizza from a high-end pizza place for delivery to my house. It got there in 20 minutes. Usually it takes an hour and a half with this place. I've noticed many things like that. Gone to restaurants where there are no people and there are always people there. So people are spending money carefully right now. However, Tim Beharon, I think, who was on the show, called what's going on. He said people are cocooning. What they do is they'll spend a lot of money on an HD TV so that they don't spend tons of money at the movies.
Let's stop there.
They'll spend a lot of money on new computers and games for those computers so that they can sit in their house and not go out and spend money.
All right, I heard this before, the cocooning thing, and he did the show and he brought this up. I thought it was a good theory. The theory was, people are not going to go to the movies because they have to spend $100 to go to the movies if they bring a whole family. They just assume buy a big screen TV. Big screen TV sales are way off projected marks for sales. They're down. So how does that explain anything?
They're still doing well.
They're doing crappy. They were supposed to down 10
relative to the environment. They're doing well.
They're not doing as well as anticipated.
This same thing happened back in 2001 with the economic downturn then. The restaurants were empty. You could get reservations anywhere.
Yeah, right.
Same thing happened, and they cocooned. They got their DVDs. They did video games.
It's seriously true. I see it in
totally
my
I think
neighborhood.
people
I see
are
it all
just
over.
drinking heavily. I don't think they're doing
Yeah,
anything.
there's two things during a recession: booze and entertainment. Those succeed.
Well, why don't they go out to the restaurants more?
Yeah, it's bottles of
This
Mad
is what
Dog 2020.
Most
not,
of the
bottles of
restaurant,
wine.
there's a slew.
Night train.
In 1933,
Oh, yeah.
there were more restaurant startups than ever. People were going out.
I have a fundamental problem with the whole video game industry. I played video games as a kid all the time. But I had to put a quarter in the machine. And
Yes,
so
pinball.
there was a price to pay, and so you ran out of your $3 and you had to go home. Now these things are just kind of. I think
They're
should
not
start,
free.
They should start selling heroin.
We actually
now.
played at the same
60,
place.
$80 heroin would be the
We
same
played
thing.
at the same place
Even after
growing up.
1,000 hours, that's like
Now, you two guys are
We
both-
grew
You
up
guys-
in Berkeley during the same years. What's the pinball place
Silver
on
Ball
Telegraph?
Gardens,
Silver
baby.
Ball, right near Comics and Comics.
That one that was upstairs, that
Yeah,
was dark
absolutely.
and dingy.
yeah.
And
I-
smoky,
I
and it
personally,
smelled really
we
interesting.
supported that place.
Absolutely.
Basically.
That had one of the first. They had a community. They had a computer in there.
Yeah.
It was that community system that Lee Felsenstein started.
I
Was
just
that
think
where
Like
you-
a pet, a Commodore?
No,
What
it
was
was like
that?
this is pre. This is like pre-pet. It was really early.
I think the video game industry should start diversifying investments in Asian heroin. I think the margins are better, and it's the same kind of product. You just kind of get into it and you can't stop.
Well,
addictive.
I think it has more to do with the fact that the Wii is a compelling machine, and people are they like. I think I don't know. Are these numbers you put the story together? These numbers growing, or is it just they're just doing what
they're
they've always
growing.
done?
There have been
but
some,
it's not. They're not spiking.
There have been some hit games that have come out recently. I think 5 out of 10 of the top-selling games recently have been Wii games. The Wii is just completely dominating. Although they had the recent failure of Wii Music, that's not a hit product.
I played with that.
You said it was good, but nobody likes it.
It's just as well. Nobody likes it because it's like everything else. I don't know why people play Garage Band. What's those?
Rock Band.
Rock Band. What's the other one? Guitar Hero.
Guitar Hero.
So they have. I watch people play this. It looks boring. All you're doing is following a thing. I mean, you're not really doing anything.
No,
really.
I play real guitar. I have no understanding why people want to sit there with a plastic guitar and push buttons.
The best thing about it is
Yeah.
these 20-year-old guys, when they're they're Guitar Hero experts in their 20s. When they're in their 30s, they're still not going to get laid because they have no skills. Like, at least you can play the guitar and kind of woo your wife, right, Sebastian?
Women do respond to music, I'll tell you that for sure.
Oh,
It's like Eddie Murphy says, all you got to do is sing. It's true.
Radio Shack offers $99 netbooks.
Brilliant.
You think so?
This is brilliant. They took a computer that was, what, $399, $499. They put a cellular radio in it, which is subsidizing the cost.
Right.
And you end up paying $1,600 for this computer. Brilliant.
Oh, because of all this.
All the usage, the
right.
60 or 80 bucks a month, whatever it is. I love it.
I think computers are vanishing, and so are cell phones. And pretty soon, we're just going to need public terminals for our display monitors, because we're just going to have some little thing that's the size of a keyboard, and it's going to be a phone and a computer, and they're all going to be $99.
I've heard that, the size of a pack of chewing gum where it just does
It's got to be,
everything.
the keyboard is the gating factor. As long as you can type, that's going to be the smallest. And what we need is a public kiosk for a video monitor.
And you'll have your display on a pair of
And
glasses.
they'll all be $99.
Just like payphones.
Of course, you guys have been swallowing the Kool-Aid there in Silicon Valley. Hey, what does Innotas do?
So we offer software as a service for project portfolio management. We focus on IT companies, and we save them a bundle.
And you guys are doing well in the downturn.
Yeah, it's a very
You're doing well in the downturn?
it's a very counter-cyclical value proposition. These organizations
There's a good one.
absolutely need this kind of-
Counter-cyclical value.
It's two words actually.
There's
with
3
a hyphen.
S's in it.
So it sounds like a brand name. FSF slaps Cisco with its first ever licensing suit. This is an interesting story.
This is the free
Anybody
software.
know anything about
yeah,
this?
the Free Software Foundation. They basically said that Cisco went around and collected a bunch of open source free stuff out there, which is meant to be distributed freely and shared.
Yeah.
And they treated it like proprietary software, locked it into their Linksys products, and wouldn't let people share and contribute to it.
I'm not a huge free market fanatic, but I figure if we can take a public company private and restructure it, why can't a software company take public software private and restructure it? The public stuff's still out there.
Because
it's not
I'll
like they're
tell you
going
why.
to take it away.
Because when you use this stuff, you are conditionally signing a license saying you won't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And the
Open
whole
source
idea-
software has licenses. You're supposed to agree to contribute to the community, all that stuff.
Well, Boxy's open source, so we take the code that came out of XBMC, we twist it, remix it, and then we give it back. And that's the problem with Linksys. They kept it in-house. They didn't even post their libraries up to the web like they were supposed
Do
to.
you ever get the feeling, I get this feeling once in a while, that a lot of people would do what you did, but I think they take the code, they put in some incompetent coders, and they make a mess.
It could be.
And then they say, we can't put this back out to the public. They're gonna ridicule us. All the nerds are gonna say that we're boneheads and we're idiots, and look at what we did. So let's just keep it to ourselves. Do you ever think that's possible?
I think once you open up code to everybody's eyes, you change the whole ball game. Not only how you develop it, how you manage features, and once it's out there, you can't. If you pull it back in, I can only screw it up from there.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
The transparency of being out there in and of itself has its own regulator.
So
But
you're
what's
proud of your code, though?
Yeah, we've got hackers on our team, so we do some nice tight code. But what's interesting is Linksys has quit selling these boxes for the past 3-4 years now that run open source software. So they've said, hell with this, we're going to go with the X-Links or whatever this embedded system architecture is instead of open source. So
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this suit comes out. I'm sure they'll settle out of court. We're going to take a break and settle out of court ourselves with this next break. Thanks.
For the best prices on high-tech gadgets, shop.pcmag.com. Shop.pcmag.com lets you find, compare, and buy anything in seconds. Whether you're looking for a digital camera, computer components, or a new HD TV, you'll find everything you want at shop.pcmag.com. Shop.pcmag.com lets you compare prices from dozens of sites. No hidden charges, no hassles. Shop.pcmag.com to save cash. It's a source you can trust.
Hey, welcome back to Cranky Geeks. I've got my iPhone here, and I have my story, which says Microsoft releases its first iPhone app. It released Sea Dragon. What do we know about this? Do I have it on here?
yeah, it's in there. It's on the last page.
Have you tried it? I heard that there were some problems with it, with the photosynth stuff.
So we have to back up. Photosynth
And by
is
the way,
like-
this is Dave's iPhone. I carry a Nokia N91.
You got a
or
girly
N71.
white one too. It's very pretty. Do they have a Hello Kitty version too that you weren't able to get? So you
I was
went with the white
going
one?
for the pink one, but they didn't have it.
That's the Hello Kitty version, exactly. So PhotoSynth was what Microsoft put together a few years ago, and I think this is just a ruse for Microsoft to sell more databases to host all these images. But the idea with PhotoSynth was you could take multi-megapixel images, stitch them all together, and you'd have a gigabyte image, right? Multi-gigapixel, whatever they call it. So this C-Dragon or Pendragon or whatever the hell it's called, it lets you just use the Surface technology, which is being able to use your fingers on the screen. Apple calls it multi-touch, in order to use these images over Wi-Fi. So you don't have to take up the memory on the device. Mm-hmm. You can just continuously zoom in with pinching motions that the iPhone offered and look at these images.
I pinch in, the thing shrinks.
No, pinch out.
Oh.
I don't know. There you go. Is that working?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can zoom in forever and ever, and there's some clever artwork.
Forever and ever?
Well, you do eventually hit the last pixels.
Which is the Simpsons.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Or the.
There's an inside joke for you, ladies and gentlemen.
But the real issue here is this is Microsoft doing an app for the iPhone. I mean, what do you think about that?
Microsoft has made money selling software with Apple forever.
Sure, the Office applications.
And second of all, Microsoft is really no longer a technology company. I mean, I think the fact of the matter is Microsoft is an investment company. Their greatest strength is cash. They had $15 billion
I
in
have
revenue.
made this point myself before, too, that they'll eventually develop into being like Berkshire Hathaway, where the mountain of cash that they invest is far more important than coming out with a
Last
new,
quarter,
coming out with a new version of
you
Windows.
got
Would be
that
like
from
a
a
drop in the
column I
bucket.
wrote.
No, it's true.
$4 billion in net earnings last quarter. That's their greatest strength. They don't even really know how to make technology anymore, so they're just going to market and sell whatever they can find. And
So anyway, let's get back to this app.
Well, they said they used it.
Did you have to pay for this?
No, it's a free app, and what's neat is people that have used PhotoSynth can publish their photos as well. So you can browse a pretty rich library of photos, but it's nothing more than what Apple did with multi-touch or Microsoft did with Surface, but they went with the iPhone platform because it has a video accelerator. I don't know if you really need it. I think the video acceleration makes more sense to games than it does zooming in continuously on images, but it's a novelty, it's a gimmick. I downloaded it, and 10 minutes later, I was ready to delete the app, but I kept it on for you, John.
No, you didn't. You just accidentally, because you're lazy. You don't. You have a lot of apps you should be deleting.
That's true.
Speaking of Microsoft, did you see the Will Microsoft buy RIM story?
I'm looking at
here?
that story here. Although he dubs his prediction outrageous, noted analyst Tim Baharan is predicting that Microsoft may make. This is a. I don't know if Tim is the first one to come up with this.
But actually, the more I thought about it, the more it makes sense for Microsoft to buy RIM. The Windows Mobile.
Well, right now, since
Windows
the
Mobile's
stock
in
is way
deep
down,
trouble.
they seem that they have some issues with the new thing. I played with that. What is it called? The Storm.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I didn't like it. I thought it was a clunker. You know, it's like the whole thing, and I can't figure out the interface, and it's like it's got the screen wiggles around. And
That's because they put a switch under the screen, which
Yeah.
people, I guess they did focus groups, and people with Blackberries like the click. Well, it makes sense if you've got a bunch of clicky clicks under your thumbs for keys, but if you make the whole screen click, then it starts to rock, and it's just a bad user
yeah, it's going to
experience.
get dirt in it.
Yeah. We don't
Like
like
I have to shake the dirt out, you know.
Ballmer hasn't called me and asked me yet, but I think that they have made most of their money. I mean, they've dominated by owning the platform. I think they have to get back to owning whatever the platform of devices they want to play in, and then build on top of that. They've proven they know how to do that. The
So you think they should buy RIM?
the closer they can get to a platform, and
I think
the
they should
better.
buy RIM too.
The worst thing they'll do is buy it, or no, what they will do, which will be the worst for all of us, they'll buy RIM and then shelve it, and then put Windows Mobile 7 on the devices. They're like, no!
They're not going to. Well, now the other story in the same category is the fact that Palm appears to be rolling out an OS at CES. You going to check this out?
Yeah,
when you're
definitely.
there?
And I'm working these PR guys. They will not release anything. But if you read between the lines on the invite,
It's
seems
going to be Linux.
Yeah, and Business Week had a big story on it. I'm hoping it's Linux. And remember the Folio, which was a netbook before the network books, right? Do you remember that? Palm Folio never came to market. Actually, at Linux World, I was taking some photos of the Folio, and the PR people chased me out of the booth on
I
that
remember
one.
the Folio. Didn't they have some other crackpot product once that had a pin in the top? That other.
Yeah, the 3Com Audrey. Is that what you're
That was
thinking
the
of?
Audrey.
The Audrey, right? Which Louderback collects those for some reason.
I think probably because they're going to be like that old television set that Sylvania that had, or the Packard Bell that
Do
Do an
No, the
eBay
Philco
search on
Predicta.
Audrey.
Yeah, right.
I love the
Philco.
I bet they're out
Predicta.
Those
Do an
things are
eBay
worth money.
search on Audrey.
Laszlo's has one in
Can't get a connection.
Mission.
Unfortunately. So anyway, do you think it's going to be Linux?
I hope so. I really do.
What
because
advantage is that going to give them?
they did not have a multitasking operating system. And think about all of the devices now. Windows Mobile has pretty crappy multitasking, but it still works. The iPhone has quasi multitasking, right? You can only run one app at a time, but at the same time you can get calls and do text messages. The Danger Sidekick was probably the neatest operating system that was multitasking. When you were in one app, like on the web, instant messaging queues would scroll on
It was actually
up
cool,
above.
except there was a clunky device.
Clunky device, right? So Android has taken Andy and that team from Danger. Microsoft bought the rest of the assets from Danger, right? And if they buy RAM, maybe they could screw it up really well with a clunky device with Windows Mobile 7 and just shelve the BlackBerry OS. There we go.
Well, talking about multitasking, we have to multitask our way out of here. We're done for today. You've been watching Cranky Geeks. I'm John C. Dvorak. Don't forget to email us at crankygeeks@ziffdavis.com. We'll see you again next time.